What happens when a single shared video quietly crosses an ocean and lands in someone's heart? No cameras, no stage, no script, just Wong Ebball's wild journey into nature and Xiao Zhan's reaction that no one was ready for. A smile, a laugh, a spontaneous dance, and suddenly, the fandom couldn't look away. It didn't start with noise. It started with silence, green landscapes, and the sound of nature breathing. Wong Ebball was far from the spotlight when exploring the unknown took him to Lopez Island, Washington, an island wrapped in mist, trees, and open water, where fame feels distant and unnecessary. Here, Wong Ebball wasn't an idol, an actor, or a headline. He was simply a man rediscovering the world with bare hands and an open heart. He climbed trees like a curious child, laughing at his own clumsiness. He dug for clams in wet mud, hands dirty, expression unguarded. He paddled a kayak across calm waters, moving slowly, as if listening to his own thoughts. This wasn't performance. This was presence. Fans around the world watched quietly, sensing something different. There was no pressure to impress, no expectation to shine. And yet, without trying, Wong Ebball shined brighter than ever. But the real story was still waiting, not on Lopez Island, not even on the screen. It was waiting in someone else's reaction. When the footage reached Xiao Zhan, something unexpected happened. There was no dramatic build-up, no grand announcement, just a moment of watching. And then, a smile slowly appeared. Soft, genuine, unfiltered. Xiao Zhan laughed to himself. Not a polite laugh, not a staged one. It was the kind of laughter that escapes before you can stop it. His eyes lit up, his shoulders relaxed, and suddenly his body followed his emotions. He began to move, a small dance, playful, awkward, endearing. A reaction so pure it caught everyone off guard. Fans didn't just see joy, they felt it. Because in that moment, Xiao Zhan wasn't reacting for the camera. He was reacting as a human being, moved by another person's happiness. And somehow, that made everything feel closer, more intimate, more real. The internet noticed immediately. Clips spread fast. Comments flooded in. Why is this so healing? I can't stop smiling. This feels warm. Fans replayed the moment again and again. Not because it was loud, but because it was honest. There was no physical interaction, no shared frame, no spoken words. Yet the emotional connection felt undeniable. One person exploring the wild, another watching from afar, unable to hide his happiness. In a world obsessed with drama and spectacle, this quiet exchange felt revolutionary. It reminded fans of something they didn't know they missed. Simple joy, unfiltered emotion, human warmth. And suddenly, everyone was talking about it. Not as gossip, not as rumor, but as a moment. What truly made this moment echo so loudly across the fandom was not what happened on screen, but what wasn't forced into it. There was no script guiding emotions, no background music telling viewers what to feel, no captions explaining meaning. And yet, meaning appeared anyway. Wong Ebball, standing in nature, stripped of titles and expectations, represented a kind of freedom many people quietly long for. On Lopez Island, he wasn't chasing achievements or applause. He was climbing trees not to impress, but because the tree was there. He dug clams not for show, but for curiosity. He paddled a kayak not to be watched, but to move forward, slowly, steadily, peacefully. That image alone was powerful. But when paired with Xiao Zhan's reaction, it became something deeper. Xiao Zhan didn't react as a celebrity responding to content. He reacted as someone emotionally connected to another person's joy. His laughter was not loud. His movements were not dramatic. They were instinctive. And that instinct is what pierced through the screen. In a world where public figures are trained to control every gesture, every expression, this lack of restraint felt rare. Almost fragile. Almost sacred. Fans didn't see two stars maintaining distance. They saw two human beings connected by emotion rather than proximity. One living the moment, one witnessing it and being moved. That contrast created balance. Wong Ebball embodied quiet resilience, self-discovery, and grounding. Xiao Zhan embodied warmth, empathy, and unfiltered emotional response. Together, without standing side by side, they created a complete emotional picture. This is why the moment stayed, because it reminded viewers that connection doesn't require constant presence. That care can travel silently. That joy can be shared without being performed. And for many fans, especially those who have followed their journeys through years of pressure, scrutiny, and growth, this moment felt like a reward, not for loyalty, but for patience. As the clip continued to circulate, something unusual happened. The conversation didn't burn out. It slowed down. Instead of explosive debates or fleeting trends, fans lingered. They shared how the moment made them feel rather than what it might mean. They spoke about comfort, about healing, about smiling without realizing it. Some said it felt like watching a close friend find peace. Others said Xiao Zhan's reaction reminded them of themselves, laughing alone in a room, moved by something simple. This was not spectacle-driven attention. It was emotional resonance. And that difference matters, because moments like this don't fade quickly. They settle quietly into memory. In an industry often defined by noise, competition, and relentless momentum, this was a pause, a breath, a reminder that at the heart of entertainment are people, not personas. Wang Yibo didn't need to explain his journey. Xiao Zhan didn't need to speak his feelings. Everything was already there. And perhaps that's why fans felt protective of the moment, wanting to preserve it as it was, untouched by exaggeration or speculation. Just a fragment of life. Shared, received, felt. If you found yourself replaying it, not for answers, but for comfort, if you smiled softly without knowing why, if it stayed with you longer than expected, then you already understand its power. Some stories don't ask to be analyzed. They ask to be felt. And long after the screen goes dark, those are the moments that remain.